after the Beatles, dynamics. Just people wanting more in-your-face style recordings, more bright and stuff. My favorite picture there is probably David Bowie, though, because he used very, very unconventional styles of recording. He recorded with a dynamic microphone directly from an amp. He would sing into the amp, whatever was coming out of the amp, that's what he would record. And it would give really sort of punchiness to it, very bright, but also very aggressive. And it was really, really cool. Michael Jackson actually recorded with an SM7B, which Josh mentioned, and I really want to get my hands on one because it's actually a radio mic. It's a radio broadcasting mic, and he used it for the whole of Thriller, and it sounds brilliant. So 1950s. So this is the time that the crooners were about and all that kind of stuff. And I just like to show you this graph about sort of the frequencies, about the recordings. I think this part right here, where it goes up a little bit, is due to the recent mastering. So I doubt that the it's as high in the original recordings because the energy levels just weren't great, especially if you have two mics and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll have a little sound of Elvis Presley. You can really hear that Elvis Presley is right there on his own mic, whereas the band had their own, probably one or two more mics. So they're really pushed back, but nevertheless they're all in the same room. And at the time, there was no comping, there was no nothing like that. It was just record, go, do it from beginning to end. And that's why they're geniuses, because they were just performing perfectly on the one go. That's very rare that you see that nowadays. Very, very rare that you find a whole recording done from one take. 1960s to 1970s. Now, the frequencies here have gone up even more, creating a sort of unnatural tones to the voices and tones to the whole recordings in general, especially with Led Zeppelin. Influenced by the 60s psychedelia and all that kind of stuff, the frequencies, were up and down, especially on this section right here with the 300, 500 hertz. It would create a really unnatural sound to the voices, which everyone really wanted. By this time also, the ribbon microphones were done. Everyone wanted dynamic microphones, condenser microphones, which were a lot better as well. And live performances came about. 1969 was the birth of Woodstock, and everyone was like really into their concerts. So Led Zeppelin. You really hear in his vocals the unnatural tones. As well, in the 1970s, there was the birth of the parametric equalizer, which meant they were allowed to manipulate all the frequencies, especially the mid-range frequencies. There's a lot of unnatural tones there. It's one of my favorite songs. It's very high frequencies and very low frequencies, and a lot of manipulation in the middle because of the parametric equalizer. So it was very unnatural, but nevertheless very psychedelic and sort of just cool. Yeah, 1980s and 1990s. By this time, before anything else, the experimentation was through the roof. You had like 808s and all that type of stuff. So we had to compete vocal-wise as well. I wasn't there. We started adding reverb, started adding a lot of delay, a lot of manipulation with the frequencies, a lot more, and we wanted everything to sound rounder and bigger as well. It was the birth of glam rock, it was the birth of grunge, etc., etc. So we were more willing to play with choruses and phalangers, etc., on the vocals themselves. So the next clip is, of course, Guns N' Roses. In his vocals, there's a lot of reverb, especially on the first note. Makes it sound like it's very in the background. It makes it sound even more menacing, if anything. It's not right in your face, but it's just there enough to be subliminal. Yeah, it's another one of my favorite songs. Also, the birth of electrical instruments by the 1960s meant that the singers had to deal with that. And then, of course, with Nirvana, in his main vocals, you hear a lot of choruses used and stuff like that. So, experimentations with effects that were usually used for guitars, etc., therefore making it sound a lot more alive, a lot more like you're in concert, amplify there, etc., etc. Again, it's a lot of reverb in that as well, but enough to make it. So there's very natural tones there as well. And then the naughties. By this time digital music is, really comes into play. So what we thought that the river microphone was a microphone that was done, it came back into play in the naughties, because it delivers just a more round, as I said, frequency spectrum. It delivers a more round sound and warmer tones, and a lot clearer as well. You can hear that in Coldplay a lot. Everything's very clear, very nice, very warm, and this is what we do nowadays a lot. We just want the art to communicate as effectively and as clear as possible. I do apologize for the long intros. I didn't cut the songs, so I only have I'll show 2 lines again. So it's super clear, very, very clear. Although I think now people are starting to have a hunger for the old school style recordings and manipulation of EQ, where you just cut out loads of the bottom end and boost a little bit more of the higher end, so it sounds more old school, let's say, more walkie-talkie, more like sung through a phone even. People are really yearning for that, and I think it's quite cool. Preparing for a vocal session. Before you do a vocal session, you need to have everything prepared, because singers are very, very particular type of people. And this is what I do when I'm doing a vocal session, and this is what I do for myself even. Gotta make sure the lyrics are printed out, make sure that the singer knows the lyrics, and pretty much the producer needs to know the lyrics as well. That'd be spot on, because that way you're all working in the same point. The setup needs to be on point as well as soon as the singer comes up. That means compressors, reverb, etc. Reverb, something that I think all singers want in their headphones. That way they just hear, they don't hear the mistakes. You can take that out afterwards or something like that. Make sure they're comfortable and you're comfortable. Practice makes perfect, but not too much. If you do too much, you might think there's something wrong with it and therefore not deliver. Never give negative feedback to a vocalist. Never want to do that. You never want to do that. You always want to say, it's great, yeah, it's good. Can you do it one more time maybe? That'd be great as well. Vocal process and definition of tracks, time correction, pitch correction. I think you all know what this means. All of this is very, very important. Time correction always happens. Pitch correction. Hopefully you have a really, really good singer that's on point with everything. If not, this is the order in which I do my things. Definition of tracks, time correction, pitch correction, destructive enhancement, setting up insert effects, etc., etc. Setting up sends and return effects, spot effects, which is my most favorite and more fun of the whole process. Final level, mixing, etc., etc. You want it to float right in your mix, not overpower, not be too far back. And the mastering, you don't want to do a lot of mastering. If you're doing a lot of mastering, you want to go back to the mix and do it all on the mix, because you just want a little tiny compression, a little tiny EQ, so it all sits perfectly and nicely. Hopefully we have time for this. This is my own recording of vocals, and this is a friend of mine called Lee Mulholland and me. His voice is just superb, I find. Very warm, recorded with a condenser microphone. Isolated, tiny bit of reverb. What I did mostly is that I put reverb on his headphones, put it on a bus, so then after the recording was done, I could take it down and work with it right.